Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today's video is the continuation of the textual analysis of Waiting for Godot Act 1. So without further ado, let us begin.
We don't get to decide when the wait ends. We can only decide what to do while we are waiting. So these two people, they talk like this, and Vladimir says, yes, but while waiting, Vladimir asks, what do we do now? Estragon, wait. Vladimir, yes, but while waiting? Estragon, what about hanging ourselves? Vladimir, it would give us an erection. Estragon, highly excited, an erection? So Camus, in his Ideas of Absurd, says that there are different ways to confront the absurd. The first way he tells about is killing oneself, committing suicide, which Sartre rejects completely. So here we see them contemplating all the recipes given by Camus through which we can face the absurd. So they are talking about an erection, that is a death erection called angel lust, that is a terminal postmortem erection. So this erection is observed in corpses of men who have been executed by hanging. So Vladimir here we see that gives the impression that he is the more logical one and he has a proper reason, and he talks about as if he is the right here. So their dialogues goes like this. Estragon says, let's hang ourselves immediately. Vladimir, from above. They go towards the tree. I wouldn't trust it. Estragon, we can always try. Vladimir, go ahead. Estragon, after you. Vladimir, no, you first. Estragon, why me? Vladimir, you are lighter than I am. Estragon, just so. Vladimir, I don't understand. Estragon, use your intelligence, can't you? Vladimir uses his intelligence. Vladimir, finally, I remain in the dark. Estragon, this is how it is. He reflects the bow. Angrily, use your head, can't you? Vladimir, you are my only hope. They talk about who is lighter, who is heavier. There is this interplay with the word light, that this thing goes on. So it is mentioned that if Estragon hangs himself first, then there is no guarantee that both of them will die. And Vladimir told Estragon that he should hang himself first because he is lighter. And that knowledge is also not very well explained. So they are in dilemma. Usually it happens whenever people are in dilemma, they try to get external help. And here they decide to ask Godot. Vladimir says, let's wait and see what he says. Estragon, who? Vladimir, Godot. Estragon, good idea. So Vladimir is talking in a way as if they are going to have a business with Godot. We see that these two people, they had a choice of hanging themselves. This explains existentialism. But this play is not about existentialism altogether. There is also this lack of choice. They cannot decide whether to hang themselves, how to hang themselves. So this lack of choice explains the absurd. So they talk about in a way that Godot can come and decide for them, and they have some serious business to discuss with Godot. So this is the time the audience starts to expect and starts to get some hint about like whatever is going to happen and what could be their purpose of waiting for Godot. Till now the audience had no knowledge and no clue about these two people and why they are waiting for Godot and who is Godot at all. So this audience is informed about Godot through the words of Vladimir and Estragon, who themselves do not believe in their own words. So they go on talking, and then they ask whether they are tied down together. Estragon says feebly, we are not tied. We are not. Vladimir, listen. They listen, grotesquely rigid. Estragon, I hear nothing. Vladimir, they listen. Estragon loses his balance, almost falls. He clutches the arms of Vladimir, who totters. They listen, huddled together. Nor I, sighs of relief. They relax and separate. Estragon, you gave me a fright. Vladimir, I thought it was he. Estragon, who? Vladimir, Godot. So these two people, again, they stop and they try to listen about something, and then they understand that there is nothing to be heard, and they are kind of relieved. And Vladimir says that he thought that it was him. Estragon has already forgotten who was this him, and he asks again, and then again Vladimir reminds him that they were waiting for Godot, and he thought that Godot must have arrived. After that, we see that Estragon says that I'm hungry. Vladimir, do you want a carrot? Estragon, is that all there is? Vladimir, I might have some turnips. Estragon, give me a carrot. Vladimir rummages his pocket, takes out a turnip, and gives it to Estragon, who takes a bite of it angrily. It's a turnip. Vladimir, oh, pardon. I could have sworn it was a carrot. He rummages again in his pocket, finds nothing but turnips. All that turnips. He rummages. You must have eaten the last. He rummages. Wait, I have it. He brings out a carrot and gives it to Estragon. There, dear fellow. Estragon wipes the carrot on his sleeves and begins to eat it. Make it last. That's the end of them. Estragon chewing. I asked you a question. So this carrot is a significant thing in Beckett's own experience. As I have mentioned that Beckett was a part of French resistance, and they had to go on without food for days, and they had only access to foods like carrots. So this carrot is symbolic of the deprivation he saw all around him. So here there is a very funny way of presentation. Vladimir rummages his pocket and he doesn't find a carrot, he finds only turnips, and the audience is convinced that he has no carrot. Right when the audience is convinced that he has no carrot, he produces a carrot. So there we see that Beckett is playing with the expectations of the audience. They again, like Estragon again asks, we are not tied. Vladimir says, I don't hear a word you are saying. Estragon chews and swallows. I'm asking if we are tied. Vladimir, tied? Estragon, tied. How do you mean tied? Estragon, down. Vladimir, but to whom? By whom? Estragon, to your man. Vladimir, to Godot. Tied to Godot. What an idea. No question of it. For one moment. Estragon, his name is Godot? Vladimir, I think so. Estragon, fancy that. So we see that they are not even sure whether the person they are waiting for is called Godot at all. So everything, whatever they deliver, the audience cannot depend on their knowledge of these two characters. The tree, they say that this tree is a shrub or a bush. They do not have the idea whether it is on Saturday or a Sunday or what day it is at all, whether they were to meet Guru there on that particular day. And now this, that they do not even know whether that person they are waiting for is actually called Godot. So this audience here we see that are getting into a kind of stupor that nothing is going to happen. And suddenly there is this huge cry, a shock, and the action of the stage is hilarious, but their faces are full of terror. And this is the crux of tragicomedy. Let's see what happens. A terrible cry, close at hand. Estragon drops the carrot. They remain motionless and then together make a sudden rush towards the wings. Estragon stops halfway, runs back, picks up the carrot, stuffs it in his pocket, runs to rejoin Vladimir, who is waiting for him, stops again, runs back, picks up the boot, runs to rejoin Vladimir, huddled together, shoulder hunched, cringing away from the menace they wait. So whatever happens, like all this action, all this commotion on the stage, one thing continues. They're waiting. Here now they wait for something great to happen. Enter Poso and Lucky. Poso drives Lucky by means of a rope passed round his neck so that Lucky is the first to enter, followed by the rope which is long enough to let him reach the middle of the stage before Poso appears. Lucky carries a heavy bag, a folding stool, a picnic basket, and a great coat, also a whip. Right when the audience thinks that nothing is going to happen on the stage, enter two new characters, Pozo and Lucky. So Pozo here gives his introduction in a very theatrical way. Pozo is constantly in the stage of presenting himself theatrically. These two people, Estragon and Vladimir, they think that Pozo is Godot and they are confused, and Pozo actually introduces himself here and says that I present myself Pozo. The way he presents himself, there is a lot of drama, a lot of theatricality. And Pozo is always in the state of giving a performance. And he gives his name. So names of the great people means a lot. And Pozo here we see that thinks of himself as someone very great. So Estragon, we see that babbers whatever he is thinking to Pozo, and Pozo has this authoritative tone, this alpha male kind of quality, but Vladimir is resisting. So Pozo here tries to give this definite kind of idea that this land belongs to him, and he follows a kind of decorum. He uses archaic expression, and here we see that Beckett plays with language, and this language has lost its function. And the decorum Pozo shows that decorum is the presentation of the class. So here we see that Beckett destabilizes the class consciousness. But then we see that the words Pozo uses with Lucky are very short and crude words. So we see that Pozo brings time and place in the play. So the dialogues go like this. Pozo with magnanimous gestures says that let's say more about it. He jerks a rope. Up pig. Pause. Every time he drops, he falls asleep. Jerks a rope. Up hog. Noise of Lucky getting up and picking up his baggage. Pozo jerks the rope. Back. Interrupt Lucky backwards. Stop. Lucky stops. Turn. Lucky turns. To Vladimir and Estragon. Affably. Gentlemen, I'm happy to have met you. Before their incredulous expression, yes, sincerely happy. He jerks the rope. Closer. Lucky advances. Stop. Lucky stops. Yet the road seems long when one journeys all alone for. He consults his watch. Yes, he calculates. Yes, 6 hours. That's right. 6 hours on end. And never a soul inside. To Lucky. Coat. Lucky puts down the bag, advances, gives the coat, goes back to his place, takes up the bag. Hold that. Pozo holds out the whip. Lucky advances and both the hands being occupied takes the whip with his mouth. Takes the whip in his mouth. Then goes back to his place. Pozo begins to put on his coats. Stops. Lucky put down the bag, basket and stool and helps Pozo with his coat. Goes back to the place and takes up bag, basket and stool. Touch of autumn in the air this evening. Pozo finishes buttoning up his coat, stoops, inspects himself, straightens up. Whip. Lucky advances, stoops. Pozo snatches the whip from his mouth. Lucky goes back to his place. Yes, gentlemen, I cannot go for long without the society on my likes. With the society of my likes. He puts on his glasses and looks at the two likes. Even when the likeness is an imperfect one, he takes off his glasses. Stool. Lucky puts down bag and basket, advances, opens stool, puts it down. Goes back to his place, takes up bag and basket. Closer. Lucky puts down bag and basket, advances, moves stool, goes back to his place, takes up bag and basket. Pozo sits down, places the butt of his whip against Lucky's chest and pushes back. Lucky takes a step back. Farther. Lucky takes another step back. Stop. Lucky stops. To Vladimir and Estragon. That is why, with your permission, I propose to dally with you a moment. Before I venture any farther. Basket. Lucky advances, gives the basket, goes back to his place. The fresh air stimulates the jaded appetite. Basket. Lucky advances, picks up the basket and goes back to his place. Farther. Lucky takes a step back. He stings. Happy days. Pozo drinks from the bottle, puts it down and begins to eat. Silence. Vladimir, cautiously at first and then begin to about Lucky, inspecting him up and down. Pozzo eats chicken voraciously, throwing away bones after having sucked them. Lucky sags slowly until back with a start and begins to sag again, rhythm of one sleeping on his fate. So we see Pozzo's behavior, his theatricality, the way he treats Lucky. He uses shorter words when he addresses Lucky. And then he uses these decorative words when he is speaking to Vladimir and Estragon. And he is this master who has Lucky at his beck and call. So we see that Pozzo eats, drinks and smokes a pipe. He enjoys life. So we see that there is a great difference between the life of Pozzo and the life of Lucky. And Vladimir and Estragon, for a moment, they forget all about their problems when they see Lucky. So they observe Lucky. So Vladimir and Estragon, they observe Lucky and they talk about who Lucky can be. And suddenly Vladimir looks at Lucky's eyes and they want to engage in a conversation with Lucky, but they know that language has lost its grip on mankind. But still they are trying to attempt. So we see that there is a little role reversal between Vladimir and Estragon here. And Estragon here asks the questions. Like previously Vladimir was the one who was more thinking and who asked questions. Here we see Estragon is the one who asks questions. He asks, why doesn't he put down his bags? Vladimir, how do I know? Estragon, say something to him. Vladimir, look. Estragon, what? Vladimir, pointing his neck. Estragon, looking at his neck, I see nothing. So there this goes on for some time. We see Pozzo suddenly says that leave him in peace. They turn towards Pozzo, who, having finished eating, wipes his mouth with the back of his hand. Can't you see he wants to rest? Basket. He strikes a match and begins to light a pipe. Estragon sees the chicken bones on the ground and stares at them greedily. As Lucky does not move, Pozzo throws the match angrily away and jerks the rope. Basket. Lucky starts, almost falls, recovers his senses, advances, puts the bottle in the basket and goes back to his place. Estragon stares at the bones. Pozzo strikes another match and lights his pipe. What can you expect? It's not his job. He pulls at his pipe, stretches out his legs. That's better. Estragon, please sir. Pozzo, what is it, my good man? Estragon, you have finished with the herb. You don't need the herb. Bones, sir. Vladimir, scandalized. You could have waited. Pozzo, no, he does well to ask. Do I need the bones? No, personally I do not need them anymore. Estragon takes a step towards the bones. But Estragon stops short. But in theory, the bones go to the carrier. He is therefore the one to ask. Estragon turns towards Lucky. Hesitates. Go on, don't be afraid, ask him, he'll tell you. Estragon goes towards Lucky, stops before him. Estragon, Mister, excuse me, Mister. Pozzo, you are being spoken to, pig, replied. To Estragon, try him again. Estragon, excuse me, Mister, the bones, you won't be wanting the bones. Lucky looks long and at Estragon. So we see that Estragon is interested in having the bones Pozzo has just discarded, and he asks Pozzo whether he would need the bones, and Pozzo says that he doesn't need them, but technically the bones belong to Lucky, and Pozzo says that Estragon should ask Lucky. Here Pozzo wants to give the impression of a just and fair master, and by saying that Lucky should get the bones. And Lucky looks at Estragon when Estragon asks Lucky about the bones, and this long look at Estragon conveys this message that can mean pleading, that or the help or the disappointment. So there is no verbal answer, and this opens up the situation for immense possibility as well as immense number of interpretations. So we see that Vladimir resists against Lucky's condition, the way Lucky is treated by Pozzo.
The next segment will be uploaded in the next video. Till then, study hard and stay tuned. Thank you. Bye-bye.